Join me today as we plant a few carrots and get a few seeds in the garden, and we're gonna head out there before it gets too hot. So this year I'm only going to be planting a couple of winter beds for my winter garden because I just really didn't want to have to manage that big of a garden. I'm going to be having some surgery later this year, and I just want to make sure it's something that I can handle. So today I've got some little carrots that have been growing in some little pods in my windowsill, and they're big enough now. I had treated my dirt a couple weeks ago, and I've been watering it every day and just letting it get nice and ready to plant out. So I'm just going to be putting a couple different varieties of carrots in the little patch here. I've got some Danvers carrots, I've got some Nantes carrots, and all I do when I plant my carrots is I just make some little tiny rows and I drop the little babies into the ground. Now, in the past, many times I've just thrown seed down and, kind of see where it's going to land as soon as I get it. Those are some of my carrots. As you can see, they're kind of, I threw a bunch of seeds into each of these little pods. So I'm just taking that little film off of the pod and I'm going to be separating the little seedlings. This is kind of a coconut core that this grows in, this medium, and I try to keep that with the carrot when I can. And all I do is just make a little hole to put the carrot in, and then I just cover it up. I put them about 1 inch to 2 inches apart. Like I said, I'm only planting these for myself. So when I need a carrot or two for something, I'll just come out and pull them. And I think this should really be enough for me throughout the winter, just to have some carrots for whatever, soup, salads, whatever. So I'm just going to go ahead and continue planting these and getting them in the ground, and I'll bring you back when I start the next one. Now here I'm just making some rows for some beet seeds. Now the beet seeds I'm going to put right into the dirt directly. I'm not going to start growing those. I just wanted to give the carrots a start so that they could basically be thinned before I even put them in. So those are really easy. With the beets, all I'm going to do is just put them about an inch apart. Now beets, it's a funny thing with beets. If you want, you can have them individually spaced and they could kind of have the room to be, 1 inch or 2 away, but you can actually plant beets pretty close together and they will grow kind of in clumps. So I'm going to go ahead and, put these beets down so they can grow, and I'm actually going to kind of space them, but as you can see, as I get a little further along, I'm going to put them a little bit closer together. I actually have a lot of beet seeds, and this is how I usually plant them. Sometimes if I get them really close together by kind of throwing them into the rows, when they get 1 inch or 2 high, I'll pull them up really carefully and just kind of straighten them out. And that's always worked for me. I've always had really good luck with root vegetables, be it carrots or beets or onions or, what have you. Even a couple years ago, I grew some sweet potatoes from starts, and I didn't do this the last year. I just ran out of room because I really wanted to have a flower bed, but I do think next year I'm going to work on getting some sweet potato starts done and put those in the garden. So I'm going to continue to put these beets in, and I'm going to put a couple radishes down, and then I'll meet you back in the kitchen. So the next thing that I'm going to do today is I'm going to take these little transplants that I started about a week ago. These are my little cabbages and some broccolis and things like that. And I'm just going to open up these little pods and I'm going to put them into little cups of potting mix. I need to put them, right now they've kind of been in the window, and what I've got are these very leggy little plants that are trying to get the sun the best they can. So what I'm going to do is put them under, I have some direct lights in my laundry room that are just for seeding plants, and I've decided to move like the cabbages and just get them stronger before I transplant in the next week or two. So let me show you how I do that. So I'm going to start off by putting a little bit of potting soil in a pot, and I don't think I'm probably going to use all of this, but you never know. I wanted to put like 2 or 3 little plants in a cup, so let's just see how this works out. So I've got some different containers that I use to put my plants in. I've got these little round pots. These work really good. And all I'm gonna do is just fill them up with some potting soil, just like this. And this potting soil is pretty dry. So what I'm gonna do is just give them a quick spray with a spray bottle. And it's really more just so that my plants are, so all I'm gonna do is just put a little bit of water on them, not too much. And if you remember, so I had made a little diagram when I put these together, so I knew where my lettuces were, where my, you know, cabbages were, everything. So the main ones that are coming up, honestly, are my butter lettuces and my red romaine. Well, my red romaine hasn't come up, but looks like some of my cauliflowers and broccoli have come up. My butter lettuces have all come up, and one of my red romaine has come up. So let me show you a little trick that I use to make little markers for my containers. Now, I found through the years that one of the best ways to make markers is to use an old container from something like cottage cheese or whipped cream. And all I do is cut down, just like so. And of course, I'm going to go all the way around the container, and I can get a lot of these out of here. And all I'm going to do is just cut a little bit off the bottom to make something that'll go in there, and I just write on that with a Sharpie, and it works great. I use this every time I make anything, I plant anything. So I'm going to use a Sharpie, and I'm going to write red romaine on here. I've only got one that's come up, as I said, so I'm going to make a little bit of room. That's for the red romaine, and I'm just going to put this in my container like so. And then I'm going to go ahead and transplant that right into my container. So this is always kind of a little mess getting this. It's kind of a little material that you take off, just like so. See how nice that is? And then all I'm going to do is just make a little hole right in the middle. And I'm just going to put that right down in the middle of my soil. Just like so. Let me use a little bit more. Now I'm going to put these, as I said, I'm going to put these under my bright lights. I have shop lights that I've hung from a shelf in my laundry room, and I use that every single spring to do my plantings. And this thing will be amazing. In about a week, you're going to be so surprised in the next week or two. So let me go ahead and transplant some of these. And these are some cauliflowers that I'm planting. And as you see, I'm just kind of gently pulling them apart. Just like so. And I try to keep some of this soil down where the plants have been, just because it's It's what they're used to growing in, so I don't think it hurts anything. And then I just fill in all around these little plants with some more soil. It's super easy, and it's just an easy way to get your plants a little bit more healthy. And right now, I'll be honest with you, it's very hot to plant directly into my garden. I did transplant the carrots, but it's kind of a, I planted them very deep, and I also put them in an area that gets a little bit more shade. So I think they'll be okay for a couple weeks. I'm sure they'll take. And these, I'm just trying to make sure that enough of these get their own room, that the roots can take hold, and then these will be very easy to separate once I get them into the ground. So this is all I'm doing. It's pretty easy. Put a little bit more of this coconut coir soil around it. It does help retain some of the moisture, and the plants have been growing in it, so they're used to it. And that's it. Make another little thing here for my label, so I know what it is. And see, as you go around, you're basically just kind of tearing apart your container, but these work so good. And honestly, you can use these from season to season. They're permanent markers. And this one is the cauliflower. Just like that. Now I think I've got some bigger boxes out in my greenhouse. I'm gonna go get one of those because they're really gonna need a little bit more room than this. But for now, this is fine. Like I said, they're very delicate at this point. I don't even wanna spray them because they just need some special care, and I'm gonna get them under the lights as soon as possible. So I'm just kind of spraying around them. I don't want them to go into shock at this point. Well, these are my little plants I just transplanted out of those pods. And as you can see, I've put like 2, 3, 4 of them in a cup. All I really want is for the root structure to get a little bit more, a little stronger, and I want the plants to get bigger before I put them out in the garden. So this will work perfect. I saved a little bit of room here for some cabbages. So I'm gonna go ahead and water these from the bottom and then turn my light on. Thanks for joining me today as we transplanted our seedlings for our winter garden, and also for planting some of our transplants and some of our seeds out in the garden. So I hope this was helpful. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. Consider subscribing if you're not a subscriber, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.